And if I hit play, it should play some music. And welcome back to Unnecessary Inventions. So Apple AirPods, everyone knows what they are. You probably see them every single day of your life. And this week I saw this post on Reddit and a bunch of you started tagging me. You posted it in the Unnecessary Inventions subreddit, sent me messages on Instagram. So I think it's time for me to make my very own giant, enormous AirPod Max Super Pro MegaPod. I reached out to the original guy who made that on Reddit and asked if I could make one, and he basically just said go for it. So today, we're going to make a giant working AirPod, 3D printed, Bluetooth speaker, and it's gonna look amazing. It sort of reminds me of those giant TV remotes that I've seen on like made-for-TV commercials. So it could maybe be a supplement for that for whatever reason you might use it for. So let's not waste any time, let's get into it. So luckily I was able to find a 3D design of a pair of AirPods on Thingiverse, and I'll throw a link down in the description if you want to download them for yourself. But basically, here, let's bring it up on the big screen. So basically I'm gonna take this design and 3D print it. I'm gonna take the larger AirPod part and chop it in half, and I'll print those two separately, glue them up later, and then print that third part. I'm gonna embed a Bluetooth speaker within the AirPod itself. That way we can actually use it, listen to music, make some calls, and do all that sort of stuff. I'm gonna use black fabric and some mesh to make sort of the speaker grill and those sections so that it looks a little more authentic. And then I'm gonna use some chrome leaf to make that bottom section so that it's nice and shiny. So let's go hit the 3D printer. And after way too many hours, we have all of our 3D printed parts all finished up, and they are looking really pretty good. Here's our first sort of look at what the AirPod is gonna look like. It's a good size. Hello? Hello, hello, hello? Anybody there? So here we have the bottom of the AirPod shaft. It is going to be the left AirPod, of course. And that will glue onto the upper half of the AirPod. And you can sort of see that I think because I scaled up the design to be this large, you're getting a little bit of the geometry of the AirPod itself. So I'm gonna take some time and sand out those kind of imperfections, and we're going to use some finishing primer to help fill in some of the gaps later. And then lastly, that will attach to the actual earpiece itself, and we'll have all three parts for our AirPod. So I think the next steps for me is I'm going to go ahead and sand down all of the parts so that we can get them ready for painting, so we can get them ready to glue up, and that we can get rid of some of those imperfections that we have across it, and it should be looking pretty good. So, time for a montage of me sanding these down. So I've gotten the parts pretty much sanded down, but there are still a few little imperfections that aren't quite sanding out. So what I'm gonna do is get some basic wood filler and fill in some of those gaps, and that way once this dries, I'll be able to sand it down again, and hopefully it'll have a nice smooth surface, a good finish, and we'll be able to move on to the next step. And I have finished the wood filler and sanded it all out, so let's see how they look. Here we have all three of the pieces with the wood filler sanded out, so we should have a nice, smooth, even finish. Let's move on to the next step. So the next step for building our giant AirPod is that we want to create the mesh and black parts of the upper speaker that go inside of the AirPod itself before we glue the entire thing together into one giant AirPod. So for the sake of reusing some fabric, I have this light stand bag that has this perfect black canvas fabric. And so basically I'm gonna cut this out, and then I'm gonna use this black mesh fabric, and I'm gonna cut this on top and layer the two so it kind of looks like that speaker grill that you have on the AirPods. So I'm gonna cut two sections, layer them up together, then I'm gonna put them inside and super glue them to the inside of the AirPod so that you get that speaker grill mesh look and you don't exactly see into the AirPod itself. I think that it's going to have a pretty good effect and work out pretty well. I'm gonna go ahead and cut up the pieces that I need, super glue them in, and then clamp them down so that they don't go anywhere. And once we're done with that, we will move on to the actual speaker part. Let's get this glued up. So we have our speaker grills all set up, ready, super glued on the inside, and I think they're looking pretty good. So the one thing I'm sure you all have been wondering is how exactly am I gonna make this work like an AirPod? You know, like I could use it as a speaker, use it for phone calls, and I know that I'm probably gonna get a lot of flack for this in the comments, but we're just gonna use this little Bluetooth speaker. Now I suppose, you know, I could build some whole speaker setup, but honestly, what is the point if I can just purchase this $10 speaker? Let's turn it on.
The Bluetooth device is connected successfully.
That's my favorite part. So it's going to fit perfectly in, and once again, we're gonna super glue it. It fits right into the cone of the AirPod itself. And I'm gonna have a USB cable plugged into it and coming out the bottom. So I will still be able to charge the device and it will always be charged. And I can just put the cable back up inside of it and still use it whenever I want as a Bluetooth speaker giant AirPod thing. So I'm gonna go ahead and plug the USB cable into it and set it down so that the power button is still on the bottom, and we'll be able to stick some sort of long item up into the speaker and turn it on. So just to make sure it sort of stays in place where it needs to be, I'm going to use some super glue, get that stuff in place, and hopefully it just does not go anywhere. And I just realized I turned it on but didn't try it out for you. Full blast. It's pretty loud for how small that thing is. I think it's gonna be perfect inside of the giant AirPod. So now all we need to do is glue all of the 3 parts together so that we can make our giant AirPod. Once again, I'm just gonna use super glue and give it quite a bit of time to let it dry. And then where we have the edge where the 2 pieces meet up, I'm gonna once again use that wood filler, fill in that line, sand it down, and then this thing will be ready to be painted. Well, I guess primed first, then painted, and then we can add the chrome leaf to the bottom of the air stick. Why did I just call it an air stick? These are actually air sticks. Chopstick extensions for your AirPods. Another one of my unnecessary inventions. But we'll put the chrome on the bottom of the AirPod, and then I think this project might be coming to a close. So let me glue all these parts together, and I will see you in a little bit. Yeah. Oh, sorry, I gotta go film a video. Things are really moving along. Look what we've got. I had a very quick panic attack after I glued all the pieces together. I forgot to put the mesh in here. Why didn't any of you tell me that? But luckily, I was able to jiggle it in, super glue it together, and we're back in business. I put some wood filler around the cracks to fill those in a little bit. And so now the next step we need to do is start painting this thing, which is going to be a 3-step process. So this stuff here is going to be the first coat, and it's going to be the primer, and it's going to fill in hopefully a little bit more of the cracks and smooth out all of the surfaces just a little bit more. Then next up we have a classic high gloss white, just classic white glossy spray paint to give it that awesome AirPod look to it. Then I think I'm just gonna do a final coat of this crystal clear enamel. I'm gonna put some painter's tape on all the black sections so nothing gets in there. And then once all of those coats are done, we can go and put the chrome detailing on the bottom. So let's get a painting. We've got a highly scientific setup here. Everyone loves their Apple AirPods, but when you lose one, it can be the absolute worst. That's why you need to upgrade your AirPod to a MegaPod. Enjoy all of your favorite hilarious YouTube videos. You can even catch up with all your best friends. And best of all, you'll never lose it due to its massive size. So ditch those old AirPods and go MegaPod. The MegaPod is not actually associated with Apple or AirPods at all, so please do not send me a cease and desist. Charge anytime, 2 feet tall. I think that would be a kind of sweet installation. And of course, the rating for this invention is going to be 10, the thumbnail of MKBHD's last AirPod video out of 10. If you liked watching me make this completely unnecessary invention, be sure to go
smash that subscribe button.
And while you're there, give me a big thumbs up on this video. Even at this massive size, watch me lose this thing by tomorrow. So with that, I will see you at the next invention. See ya.